Listen, that episode 50, it's been a wild run up to 50, but I'm sticking to my guns. And I want to thank everyone for their support. Growing the channel is slow but steady. Thank you for all the likes, thanks for the comments, and thanks for the subscribes. Without the subscribes, I cannot ever get the channel viable for myself. And the likes is very important because that is what the YouTube algorithm use to present the video to more viewers. In any case, earlier tonight I listened to a stream from Garland Nixon and I was absolutely blown away. The man has put his finger right on top of the whole issue, Europe. The Europeans are in for a rough ride, and many of them are totally ignorant. They don't realize where that leadership is taking. That leadership took their instructions from America, and that was a big mistake, because for America, Europe has always actually been a rival. But they've got a grip on the European leadership, and they managed to convince that leadership to commit economical suicide. And in the process, the people that are going to suffer like hell. And those three little countries sitting there on the Baltics, they better wake up. If they think America is going to rush in to save them once Russia has had enough of their shit, they better think again. It's not going to happen. I'm here in South Africa, and I had first-hand experience of how the Americans operate. They urged us on to take Russia and Cuba on in Angola, and they made all sorts of promises, and we went in on those promises. And what happened? As could be expected, fuckers walked away. When the going got tough, they just walked away. And unfortunately for the Cubans, the South African soldiers was just too much for them. We are a tough fighting nation. We've been fighting for survival since 1652 basically. And those Baltic states, they better think again. They are really looking for shit with Russia. And Russia will take them out in days because they don't have anything that will give them a snowball's hope in hell if they want to tackle Russia. But they are like little Chihuahua dogs on the one side of the fence, and they're yapping a lot. But I personally believe that the people of Europe is going to take those WEF cabal leadership of theirs out, because they're going to be hungry, they're going to be cold, and there won't be energy. I see they're gathering wood like in the Stone Age. But in any case, let's see where that thing goes. My predictions are that the Europeans, the European government, the European political class, elites, are in for a rough ride. Over the weekend, there was a massive demonstration in Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic. And it seems to me that that leadership there is extremely arrogant. I'm not a fundi on what's going on there, but I've heard a discussion earlier this evening where it was actually a coalition cobbled together by Brussels that got the current leadership in. And they tried the same plan in Hungary, and it failed miserably because Viktor Orban won with a hell of a margin. And I think personally that those previously Eastern countries, not previously, they're still Eastern countries, but they were previously part of the USSR. And I think they are looking around and they are seeing how Hungary is handling the relationship with Russia, and the Hungarian people are sure of energy. Now I see Brussels is making all sorts of moves to try and dip their dirty fingers into the Hungarian reserves, but I don't think they're gonna succeed with that. And the Polish people better wake up. Very, very careful. They are the next carcass to be thrown into the meat grinder by the US. Watch out for that. Poland, be aware. This one is from China. About 50 parents and children came to visit the household garbage treatment project in Guangdong to learn about garbage disposal technology and classification knowledge. This plant, constructed by the CEEC, is expected to use waste to produce 1.1 billion kilowatt of power annually. Guys, that is a massive plant. But trust the Chinese. And the thing is this, I spoke about it in another Skidmark. The Chinese education system is turning out thousands of engineers and chemists, scientists per year. Thousands. Where in the West, in America, they're churning out confused soy boys that believe men can have babies. And then we get to this. And now we're, for me, in a difficult and a dangerous topic, but so you will have to use your imagination and read. You can pause the video if you want to read the whole thing. Russian MOD investigating the role of the US in creation of the pestilence and this bubble pox that is currently doing the rounds. Russia's MOD accused the United States of carrying out activities to create drugs that, when introduced into the body for a short time, cause chronic diseases. Now, there's a lot of shit that the Russians got in those biolabs, and they are releasing it slowly but surely. I think we are going to see some really nasty stuff coming out. A 27-year-old woman and her husband consulted an infertility specialist 2 years ago. Tests showed she was fine. Hers was a slow sperm count. The woman, now 29, followed up with the infertility doc, who asked, "Did you get the jab?" She had, to keep her job. He informed her, "You have no eggs." Guys, I think we're in for some shockers. But I believe the court cases are beginning to pick up speed in the United States and some European countries. So hopefully the pushers will get their dues. And this, one says, "I wonder what effect shedding is having on the unbitten woman. I know it affected several of my cycles, which went back to normal after I took a leave of absence. Hubby and I trying to conceive. Wonder if damage has been done." Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about the shedding, and there are claims that it's not true, and then there are claims that it is true. 3 friends of mine who had eggs stored before the bites did IVF in the spring. Husband and wife bitten before fertilization. All got pregnant, all miscarried around 10 weeks. There is really some scary stuff coming out, but I think there's also a lot of shit stories coming out. But the facts that is coming from the scientific community makes you wonder. And then Cabona Alfred says this: "The unjabbed have proved to have both a well-functioning protection system and a brain." And that is so true. And then we're back to the sportsman. 72 people transported to hospital after a marathon. 2 in ICU, 3 people dead. Are these normal numbers? In the history of the comrades, there have been 8 deaths up to the 2022 event. Scary stuff. And then from Professor Tim Knox. Well, what do we have here? Suddenly, the horse dewormer shows up on the NIH website for treating the pestilence. After years of denial, blocking, interferences, vilification, ruining social media accounts, killing people, etc., they silently added to their antiviral protocol. And here is the enlargement. You can stop and pause the video and go through that table if you like, and look in the right hand bottom corner. There it sits. And now we're on the energy. And it's from Norway. Norway has not only refused to supply gas to Europe at a discount as requested, but also plans to limit the export of its electricity to ensure the safety of domestic consumers. Financial Times. Neighboring countries accused her of selfishness and said that this would split the European market. Now, I've got news for this commentator. Fact of the matter is, the countries that are looking out for the interest of their citizens are the countries that are going to survive. Then this comment, Norway is not a member of the EU and that its financial and energy problems will not be solved. And they are the loss of the state pension fund from the fall of the markets and the shallowing of rivers and reservoirs, threatening hydropower, 96% of all. So the question is, who is the egoist? Well, let's see. And then there's this. Only 1% of the Moldovan population will be able to pay the heating and electricity bills in full. This is how the Minister of Social Protection, Marcel Spattar, commented on the new tariffs in the candidate country for EU membership. 1% of the population, let that sink in. And then we've got this from who? Ursula von der Crazy. The skyrocketing electricity prices are now exposing, for different reasons, the limitations of our current electricity market design. It was developed under completely different circumstances and completely different purposes. That is why we are now working on an emergency intervention and a structural reform of the electricity market. Now, the moment that you hear this fucking word reform, that is when you better sit up straight and listen. They are talking shit. This woman, what qualifications does she have? What makes her an energy expert? What makes her an engineer? She fucked up Germany's military, and then they passed her on to Brussels, and now she's fucking up the whole EU. It is that green shit that landed them where they are, and now they're trying to paint it a darker shade of green. These people are in for a hell of a cold winter. And then there's this. My mum owns a small cafe in Leicester. Her electricity bill has jumped from 10k pounds to 12k pounds a year to 55, jumped from 10,000 to 12,000 per year to 55, 64,000 a year. How the fucking hell can that little business survive? She is working out her options, but more than likely she will be forced to close. And that is another part of the plan. Listen, this energy crisis in Europe is planned. It is planned, and it is dictated by the WEF and the United Snakes of America. They planned this whole fucking thing to pull Europe into a third world, to destroy the European industries and at the same time impoverish the European citizens. And this, how can a small business afford those prices? It's impossible. And then there's this. Bye-bye green dream. Traffic jams in Poland for the coal mines to buy coal in preparation for the cold season. 1.7 kilometer line of people at the coal mine in Bogdanka, Poland. According to the local media, you sometimes have to queue for 5 days. How's that? In 2022. Arthur, 57, says after sleeping in his car for 3 nights in a long line, toilets are installed today, but there is no water. People sleep in their cars. I remember the days under communist rule, but it never occurred to me that it could get worse. This has also been mentioned by Tucker Carlson. It is absolutely crazy what is going on. And what really makes me smile. Poland, It's basically right next to Russia. But they thought they were fucking clever to cut themselves off from Russian energy. And now their citizens are paying. Now this was a post on Twitter. I got this electricity bill today. How in the name of God is this possible? We're a small coffee shop in Westmead. And look at that scary number there. Almost 10,000 euros. But the ridiculous part of it is that Ukrainian flag in the profile. For fuck's sake. How stupid can you? And then there's another one. How in the name of God, shocked Europeans post astronomical energy bills as terrifying winter approaches. And then we get this one. France accuses Russia of weaponizing gas supply. Despite Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov insisting technological problems caused by sanctions were the only thing holding up Nord Stream 1 gas supplies, France has accused Russia of turning the supply into a weapon of war. And fuck them. The sanctions is a weapon. They weaponized the energy with the sanctions. They did it. The Europeans did it, not the Russians. And then there's this unsettling message to Europe. Russia has enough gas reserves for the next 100 years. Meanwhile, in Europe, the Russian energy giant has reportedly reduced gas supplies to Italy. Eni Energy will receive 20 million cubic meters from Gazprom per day instead of the previous 27 million. Now, I don't know why they reduced it, but they reduced it. And then there's this from China. Just in, China's coal-fired power generation reached a record 120 billion kilowatt hours in August. That is a hell of a lot of electricity. Now the next table, you must pause and look at it if you want to have a better view. Around the world today, the EU has 468 plants and is building 27 more. That's coal plants. And then it gives you Turkey. I'm not so sure about that South African number. Yeah, we have those, but I don't know where the fuck they got to get that 24. This useless ANC government has been battling for the past 15 years to get 2 stations up and running. But interesting numbers there. And then we have this. The crisis in Europe and collapse of industry show that Russian energy has been the backbone of European economy. You'd think they'd think twice before obeying whatever Uncle Sam orders them to do. Guess leaders of the West do not answer to their people. Well, I'm sure those leaders there are in for a fucking hot surprise. The people is going to sort them out. They are driving the people into positions of desperation. And many people are quickly nearing the point where they have nothing more to lose. And that is when you have a fucking dangerous enemy. When he has nothing. And then we get to the what the fuck. And this is actually a joke, and it's a lengthy one, so you can read through all of it. 400 passengers, but only 200 meals were loaded into a flight from Delhi to New York. It was only discovered after takeoff that the flight attendants started going through their preparations for meals, so the airline had bungled, and the crew was in a fix. However, one smart flight attendant had an idea. A couple of hours into the flight, she nervously announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know how this happened, but we have over 400 people on board, but only 200 dinners. Anyone who is kind enough to give up their meal to someone else will receive unlimited free liquor for the duration of the flight." The next announcement came 6 hours later. "Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone wants to change their mind, we still have 180 dinners available." Moral of the story, people who like to drink have very kind hearts. And that is a good note to end this episode number 50. I think for me, it's a milestone. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share the thing. Have a great evening.